morning, everybody. It's a rainy May 8th here. I'm out in the hoop house, as you can no doubt see, planning to do some transplanting. Today's a good day for transplanting. It's going to be cloudy all day, and the next several days are predicted to be quite cloudy, so that'll give the seedlings a chance to get established before the hot weather returns, hopefully. Two things I'm going to transplant in the hoop house: my shallots first, and then the 7 different varieties of indeterminate tomatoes. Going to plant 1 of each. That's all I'm going to keep. The rest of the plants I will sell in my plant sale. I have some transplanting I'd like to do out in the garden as well. I don't know if that's going to be possible or not, but if I get a period where there isn't any rain that's long enough. I have 2 varieties of raspberries, red and golden variety, both of which are indeterminates. Or not indeterminates, that's a tomato term, I'm sorry. Both of which are ever-bearing. They bear 2 crops during the year. 25 strawberry plants, also ever-bearing. 2 hazelnuts, or filberts, I think that's the same nut. Anyway, in French they call it a noisette. I planted 1 last year just to see if it would make it through our winters, and it came through beautifully, so I've bought 2 more for cross-pollination purposes. And I have a black walnut tree that's about 2 feet tall. Somebody my age should not be planting a black walnut tree that's 2 feet tall. I hope I'm still around to see when it produces its first walnut. Anyway, I'll give you some little looks at some of these things as the day progresses. Well, this little section that I've just prepared, I don't know, it's probably 2 feet wide by about 3 feet long. I don't think there's enough space there to put all of my shallots. I got another little space not too far from here that I'll put the rest of them in. The shallots were grown in I think it's a 70 cell tray, and not every cell managed to produce, but the ones that did are growing quite nicely. This is in the focal range there or not, but that's one I just popped out of the tray. To prepare the soil, I put a whole sack, a 15 kilogram sack of composted cow manure in that little space, and then a liberal amount of the glacial rock dust and the balanced organic 444 fertilizer. Onions, shallots, all of those things are heavy feeders and heavy users of water, because when you stop to think of it, an onion or a shallot is probably 90% water. Anyway, I'll just show you what I'm going to do here to put a couple of them in the ground. I won't bore you with watching me do all of it, and I'll show you the 2 little areas when I finish. I'm using a dibble. Makes a nice, neat little hole. And then I've got this block of wood, which is approximately 6 inches. Just using that as a guide so that I get them about 6 inches apart. And I'll do the rows 6 inches apart as well. I'll show you the rest of it when it's finished. I've got that noisy fan behind me. I hope you can hear me. I planted the 2 areas. I treated the second area the same. I put another sack of the composted cow manure, the glacial rock dust, and the organic 444 fertilizer in it. I think if I counted correctly, I've transplanted 44 shallots. In this second area is where the 2 New Zealand spinach plants were. It's going to be getting too warm in here pretty soon for spinach, so I dug them up. I'm going to plant them out in the garden. I think I have 5 more shallots that can go in later on, and that will be when I remove these 2 romaine lettuce plants. They're getting to be a good size now and will soon be on the table. And that is it for shallots. I'm now going to put my tomato plants in. I'll give you a little glimpse of the peas. They're looking much nicer, and this morning I can see 1 or 2 places where there are blossoms starting to come out, so I should have peas. I don't know if I can get this zoomed in without it going all blurry here or not. I hate this camera. Can't afford another one. Right here, if that is showing at all. There's 1 blossom right there. Starting anyway, nothing's opened yet. If anybody has any idea what I should do with peas inside of a greenhouse to get them to pollinate, please let me know. The only thing I can think of is I'm going to thrash things around every day and hopefully they'll self-pollinate. Anyway, next I'm on to tomatoes. I guess as I've said before, all of the tomato varieties are indeterminate, so they will grow quite tall. I'm planting them 2 feet apart down the center of a 4-foot wide garden bed here in the hoop house, and I'm going to train them up bamboo stakes. I bought a package of 6 bamboo stakes that were 6 feet tall, and I'm pushing them down into the ground as far as I can get them. So there's at least 4.5 feet still exposed on each one to tie the plants up. I don't have to add any compost to this bed. It's a new bed that I built last fall and had lots of compost put in it at that time. But I am adding glacial rock dust and some of the organic 444 fertilizer. I'll just show you putting this one in, and when I'm finished I'll give you a look at the finished bed. This particular one is called Tomande, Tomande. It's not an heirloom, it's a hybrid. Grows long clusters of tomatoes that it says are heart-shaped. So I'm very interested to see what that looks like. Anyway, I'll stick this one in the ground for you. Tomato plants are still small enough they don't have to be put down too deeply or healed in sideways as people do to get more roots. I'm just going to plant them normally. I forgot to mention, I guess, that the shallots I also grew from seed. They were planted, I think, the 31st of January, and I just saw one of the tags on these tomatoes. They were planted on St. Patrick's Day, March 17th. So they're nice hardy looking little plants. I'll give you a look at it when I finish. As you can hear the rain on the roof, but I think I'm about to call it a day. I've finished transplanting in here and it's far too wet and miserable to do anything else outside. This is the bed that I just put the tomato seedlings in. Running down either side, I don't think I mentioned earlier, but I guess I've mentioned it before, are, I don't know how many, 6 or 7 different varieties of peppers, both sweet and hot. A couple of eggplant. Up at the end there, there's one rosemary plant. Anyway, they're just the side plants, and down the center I hope I've given enough room for 7 large tomato plants. And as I have said before, these tulips are in pots sunk into the soil. They're going to be lifted very soon. I plan to knock them out of the pots and put them either side of my 2 grapevines in here and just let them die back, and hopefully they'll bloom again for me next spring. I'll just give you a little walk down. Not that tomato plants look any different than any other tomato plant at this stage, but I'll name off the varieties. That one is beefsteak, strange name for a tomato being grown by a vegetarian. This one is brandywine. I grew brandywine a number of years ago. Nice flavor, but an ugly thing. I'm hoping that was just because I grew it outside here and the watering was irregular. Anyway, they split and did all kinds of things, so I'm willing to give them one more try. And this one is called Tomato Berry Garden, which, if I remember correctly, is like a cherry tomato, long clusters of small tomatoes anyway. This one is another heirloom called Giant Belgium. And this is Rutgers. I've already shown you this. This is Tomande. And the last one here is Amish Paste. And this is one of my 2 grapevines that I'll be putting those tulips either side of. And in the corner there and here, and the same over in the other bed that has my other grapevine, I have planted Egyptian walking onions. They were just started from the little bulbils that were on top of last year's walking onions, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, I finished planting in here. I've transplanted those 2 spinach plants out into the garden, and I think it's just far too wet out there to do anything else. Also, this will give the their shrubs and things a chance to harden off a little more in this cool, damp weather before I plant them. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Just a final glimpse at what's going on over here with my plant sale seedlings. Things are slowly coming up and starting to develop. And I think right now I'm tentatively setting a date of June the 9th, unless I can get these things to a size earlier than that and get rid of them, because I really want to use the space in here. On the benches I plan to use those grow bags that I used last year, I think called Smart Pots. Yeah, I plan to put 4 of those on top of the benches with melons, and I'll put up some side walls so the vines don't come down over too much and get trampled on, but that's the thought process for that right now. Thank you for watching.